thrown into jail, and possibly sentenced to death for no other reason than your family just didn't want you anymore. Animals in shelters live in that hell every day. I'm sure we all here have had pets at one point or another, but could you imagine that pet alone and scared for days, weeks, or months on end, living in a small cage? I have been fostering for an animal shelter in my area for over 2 years now, and it has been such a rewarding and wonderful experience. Animals are put down every day in shelters due to overcrowding, but we can help by fostering these animals. I would like to discuss what shelters are like when they are overcrowded and what happens to the animals, how it affects them emotionally and physically, and what fostering can do for animals and their foster parents, and how it can help shelters to work much better. Animal shelters are difficult places for animals to be in. Overcrowding happens all too often, especially when considering shelters are not only taking in pets surrendered by their owners, but also ones off the streets or taken in by animal control. Overcrowding has always been a huge problem in the United States. According to the AmericanHumane.org, 56% of dogs and 71% of cats that enter shelters are euthanized. More cats are euthanized than dogs because they're more than likely to come in not an owner surrender without any sort of identification. Only 15.8% of dogs and 2% of cats that enter shelters are reunited with their owners. The site goes on to say that only 25% of dogs and 24% of cats that enter shelters are adopted. Unfortunately, too many animals go into shelters without enough going out. Cats are even more likely to be put down than dogs because cats come in as strays. Most people also prefer to buy new puppies from breeders as opposed to adopting from shelters, creating an even bigger problem with the overcrowding. Ultimately, too many animals enter shelters mean, sad, short, miserable lives for them. Even with shelter volunteers to help walk dogs and provide attention for the cats, they are still locked in cages for most of the day. TheDogRescuers.com states 8 million dogs and cats enter shelters in the U.S. every year. More than half won't make it out alive. In this country, taxpayers spend over $1 billion annually to pick up, house, and euthanize homeless animals. Overcrowding isn't only the problem in these shelters. Animals are affected physically and psychologically when they are locked in cages for days, weeks, or months on end. Shelters are frightening, stressful places for animals. According to dogsoutloud.org, even some of the best shelters can still be loud, chaotic, and frightening places for animals who live there. To ignore the effects life in a shelter has on the well-being, health, and behavior of these dogs and cats is to do them a great injustice. Animals feel extreme anxiety, loneliness, and stress. Such pain and that severity can even become physical. According to RACAWC.com states, animals do feel anxiety, loneliness, stress, and fear when they are surrendered. Animals' brains have evolved in such a way that the parts that process emotional pain are so intense and physical are regulated in the same area so that the dog or cat's emotional pain actually becomes their physical pain. There is only one clear solution to ease the suffering of these animals. Fostering can make all the difference in the world to them. It gets them out of the shelters until they go to their foster homes. It also can be so rewarding for the families who take in them temporarily. Once animals feel comfortable and loved in their foster homes, it creates a much easier transition when they go into their forever homes. They learn to trust and love again. Things are more likely to work out when they are adopted as they go through their transition stages with their foster families. A shy dog or cat may need time to open up, and a foster family is the perfect place for that. Watching a dog that has been in a shelter environment or hurt or abused or all of the above enter your home is a magical and beautiful thing, writes regular fosterer Tamara Jackson of the Pibbles and More Animal at Rescue blog. Though they may not be settled yet, they surely seem to know they are safe and, yes, loved. Foster homes are places to heal for animals. The trauma of being abandoned and or abused by their former owners needs to be left in the past so they can move forward and be happy. This can take some time, but it's well worth it to see a once closed off cat or dog open up and become lively and playful again. It's not always easy, especially when it's time to let animals go to their forever families, but it is such a rewarding experience. Fosters save lives. I myself have rescued 25 animals. It teaches children the value of responsibility and how to love and care for those who haven't had the easiest time in life. When you foster animals, you're getting them out of shelters and freeing up the space. This can only help them operate easier. When you foster animals, this can only help them operate easier. Fostering allows you to learn more about an animal's personality, so the shelter can make sure they go to the home that best suits their personality. When there are less animals in shelters, volunteers have more time to spend with the ones who are still there. It also means less animals will be euthanized and more will be adopted to good homes. Animal shelters are so overcrowded, and the effects they can have on animals can be so painful and mentally and physically, and many are put to sleep. Fostering is the best solution to solving this huge problem. These animals don't need to suffer or die when we can provide them with homes until they're adopted. Why purchase a puppy or kitten from a breeder when you can have new ones every few weeks or months to save lives in the process?